I started thinking, I think I should probably get a Bloomberg subscription or something because they have a paywall on their website. So, we get more news if we have that. We might have to do that. But today's video, or this afternoon's video, is really regarding a breaking news article from Jason Schreier over at Bloomberg, where he talks a little bit about Sony, Naughty Dog, their next game, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. Now, that's a game that we're very excited for here on this channel. That is a game that I personally am looking forward to. I wasn't very happy with The Last of Us Part 2. That is something that is known tremendously, but the dedication that the team over at Naughty Dog has for video games, the way they push and innovate some things, implement incredible gameplay, incredible graphics, cinematic storytelling. That is their main bread and butter. That is something that Uncharted 4 did. That is something that The Last of Us has done. And it's just, when they're making a game, I am there. I am there seated and ready to see what it is. Now, the problem though is that over the last several releases and times that they've gotten close to releasing a game, it hasn't been very well received. It hasn't been very good because of the crunch that has been happening over on the studio. Now, the crunch is basically like hella overtime, hella late hours, hella time being in the office, being in front of the computer, trying to get stuff done, trying to meet deadlines. That is something that, the gaming industry in general has had to deal with for many years. And who knows, maybe years and years ago, it was a problem that was even more quiet and frowned upon to even talk about because people could lose their jobs or, people could get put in a very difficult situation. So you kind of had to be quiet and take it. And I know that Jason Schreier and Bloomberg made a report, like a deep dive into Naughty Dog and their workplace habits and their crunch. And they went at it. I mean, Jason Schreier went at it tremendously, exposing this huge problem within Naughty Dog and their crunch. This even prompted Neil Druckmann and Jason Schreier to get into a Twitter feed argument, and it was very public and it was very wild. So, they don't have a good relationship. It seems like there's some bad blood there. And now, to Naughty Dog's disappointment, potentially, or to Neil Druckmann's disappointment and anger, there is a new article that has just come out today by Jason Schreier addressing this new crunch that's going on revolving Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. Now, if we look at this image here, we have the kind of report and headline, and it reads, Naughty Dog Studio orders employee overtime for Intergalactic. The Sony-owned game makers have been racing to hit a December deadline. And right here, the article goes on to say, employees at Sony's group corporation, Naughty Dog Studios, are working mandatory overtime to finish a demo for their next video game, Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, reviving an infamous workplace tradition that is increasingly frowned upon across the industry. For the past 7 weeks, the Santa Monica-based studio behind The Last of Us has been pushing its staff to work long hours to get ready for an upcoming review of the demo by its parent company. According to people familiar with the situation, starting in late October, staff were asked to begin working a minimum of 8 extra hours a week and logging their overtime in an internal spreadsheet. Now, apparently, the people who said this, the sources that work over at Naughty Dog, were asked to not be identified because they were not authorized to speak about this. Now, apparently, the reason that this is happening is to get production back on track after the studio has missed several of Sony's deadlines. And so it shows that there's maybe some hiccups with Intergalactic. It could be, I don't know, maybe some gameplay features that they're trying to do. They have mentioned, Naughty Dog said that Intergalactic is going to be their biggest game ever. It is their most ambitious game ever. I can't remember right now if there was any talk about it potentially being open world or not. I don't think there was, but with the game being as huge as it's supposed to be, then maybe they're running into some issues, especially with how much they try to fit into the story, or whether they're trying to fix certain things with the art or trying to make it run. Maybe it's not running as good as it should. And there's a reason that they're missing these deadlines. So the situation honestly just sounds really bad. The situation sounds difficult. For anybody that works, anybody does anything, sometimes you have to go into overtime. Sometimes you have to do some, extra work, and it's very, very difficult. Now, depending on the type of work that you do, it might be be more difficult than others. But something like working at a game studio and the demand that has, especially a really huge one like Naughty Dog. I mean, whether you like Naughty Dog or not, they are one of the biggest studios in gaming. They are one of the studios that is looked upon to deliver and to innovate, and to every time they release something, it needs to be like Game of the Year worthy. That is the pressure at Naughty Dog. So you can imagine the hard work that they're probably having to do and go through, and the hours sitting in the office. You know, your head fucking hurts, man. I mean, when you're sitting here doing shit, like, it really is a drag sometimes, and it's lonely. It's really hard to do. So that it's a very unfortunate situation. Something that we did get from this report also is that Jason Schreier was told by these sources that Intergalactic is targeting a mid 2027 launch. At least that's what's being said internally. And problem with this is that we're in 2025. The game was announced back in 2024 at last year's Game Awards. And if they're targeting a mid 2027 release, that would be what, like August maybe, or before summer hits. I don't know, somewhere around that area. So that would really give you about a year and a half to keep on working, finishing it, and having it ready to go. No BS, no underperforming, bugs fixed, everything. So that gives you a year and a half. Now, the reason that the sources mentioned the release date or the potential release date is because the crunch is so bad now, and they're worried about how much worse it'll get if it does remain a mid 2027 launch. It is a difficult situation, once again, for the staff over there at Naughty Dog, and it's unfortunate because when they came out with their documentary not that long ago documenting the journey of The Last of Us 2, a little bit of that crunch was talked about. A little bit of that, bad workplace environment was kind of addressed. And, Neil Druckmann, being the head of Naughty Dog, came out and said that they're still working on that they're in a much better place, they're in a much healthier place, and that they're happy where they are with hitting deadlines and stuff like that. But it appears like that's not really the case. Or maybe it was the case, and then as time went on, since we saw that documentary, things have gotten bad again. Or maybe the pressure is so big and it's so strong on Intergalactic that it came back, and this negative cloud that's been atop of Naughty Dog for so long has returned now. I mean, this is a difficult thing too, because this would be Naughty Dog's first original title in a long time. If we look at what Naughty Dog has released over the past, their last few releases have been what? Uncharted, A Thief's End, The Last of Us Part 2, and then it has been remakes of The Last of Us Part 1, and then remakes of The Last of Us Part 2, and then the Legacy Collection for Uncharted 4. So they really haven't done much, right? It's just been a lot of remakes and collections that they have released. So there's a lot of pressure to deliver something new. They know that if they come out with Uncharted, it's going to be money. They know if they come out with The Last of Us, it's going to be money. But a studio that can continue to deliver original stories, original worlds, and continue to expand, that is what I think Naughty Dog wants. Now they want to do the Heretic Prophet, and this be the big thing. This be the next big thing that takes over gaming. That's what they want to do. And so the pressure is so big and so much that crunch has returned, and it is a negative for the studio. Now, the thing with this is that even though nobody has come out officially and said, hey, this is the launch that we're getting, is going to be mid-2027, if that's already being said, and if that's already out, which it is, into the internet, to us, we're going to start running with that. We're going to start thinking, okay, they are thinking mid-2027, so the game should come out at some point in 2027. Now, what I think will most likely happen after this article by Jason Schreier and Bloomberg is that they might not be able to hit the deadline again. This might get out of hand. More people might start coming out and speaking about it. And this is going to be bad for Naughty Dog. This is going to be a bad look in general. And so maybe they decide, okay, if we're going to have to crunch this hard just to hit a demo deadline, there's no way in hell that we're hitting that mid-2027 launch. And maybe they're going to delay it. Maybe they can delay it. Now, the problem with delaying it, and I'm not even talking about for us, like, because maybe we want the game soon and we're all selfish, like, oh, we want to play the game, yada, yada. But how are they going to react? Because they're going to start thinking, oh shit, we're going to lose money and there's going to be all this bullshit. And if we don't hit that deadline, then look at all the millions that we lost. That's how they be thinking, because they're a business. They don't fucking care, like I'm talking about the corporations. They don't care about the people that are there working their ass off every fucking day to make this shit happen, to give us a really good fucking game. It's not an easy thing to do. It's hard. They don't care about that shit. So they're going to be like, no, we're going to try to hit that deadline and we're going to crunch as much as it needs to. That's what we pay you for. And it's fucked up. It's a fucked up situation. So not not great news coming out of Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, not great news coming out of Naughty Dog. They have reverted to some of that crunch again, reverted to, you know, that negativity, and it's an awful thing to see, especially for a big ass studio like Naughty Dog, for a studio that has so much history, and a studio that, you know, so many people believe in and want to get the best games possible from the studio. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll see what ends up happening. I got a feeling that there might be some sort of pushback coming out from Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann that might end up happening, kind of denying some of these claims or something. We don't know yet what the quote-unquote fallout may be from this, but I thought I would bring this over to you guys, as we are very interested in Intergalactic. We are very interested in anything to do with the Naughty Dog games. So what do you guys think about this crunch? Is it disappointing? What do you think about them targeting a mid-2027 launch? Do you think that'll happen, or do you believe that the game should be pushed back so that the crunch isn't as hard?